Hello everybody and welcome along, and we are back now at the Xi'An Grand Prix final, and it's the second session. It's the afternoon session where Shaun Murphy has to produce something not short of a spectacular performance to try and challenge Mark Williams and potentially produce one of the greatest comebacks of all times there in his career, looking to find a way to win his 14th ranking title of the career. And Mark Williams is very much 3 frames away from doing similar sort of thing onto his 28th ranking title in his respectful career. After a brilliant start to the session from Mark Williams and a whitewash in the first mini session there, with a scoreline of 4-0, Shaun Murphy managed to get one of those frames back, but once again Williams came back to win 3 more frames to his little counter, and now comes into the afternoon or the evening session, whichever way you call it, as a massive favourite here. Shaun Murphy's not just quite yet out of this tournament, but he's going to have to produce some of his form that he was demonstrating to the spectators previously on this occasion. And this time he's going to try and start off really nicely with a break-off shot. So, well, really, he needs to be on the absolute run there of his life and of all the time there for Shaun Murphy. Because any frame that Mark Williams is going to take from here is probably going to cost as 3 frames that Shaun Murphy takes, especially with the gap that we've got right now. And it's going to be very interesting to see just what type of performance is Shaun Murphy going to try and demonstrate, as he has a decent break-off shot there. Once again, Mark Williams has been feeding off those reds in towards the right corner very often so far in the afternoon. But this time around, he just puts the red towards the green there. Very similar situation to the one that we've had in the opening frame. And right now, Murphy will be trying to make sure that he doesn't make the same mistake and push the red over the left middle, which has put him under a lot of pressure going into this second session. But as we've seen already throughout this year, some of the comebacks that the players like Ronnie O'Sullivan and Joe Yulon managed to produce. Ultimately, both of them, of course, lost out to Mark Allen and Neil Robertson, respectively. But the fact that those two have managed to take it into the decider against such a position was no short of impressive. And this time it's Murphy that goes for the aggressive approach. Tries to send the cue ball in towards the reds there with a lot of traction. And Mark Williams, in the end, will try and put this red potentially into the left corner if Murphy hasn't done enough in terms of the screwing back here. It doesn't look like, he's covered up that red for Williams to try and take on. As he has a look at it right now and goes for the pot there, and he makes it. So far, Williams starting off the second session exactly where he left off in the first one, and a brilliant stuff there for him so far. And if you talk about the reds there, very much spread out, well, in a brilliant position there for Mark Williams after that shot from Shaun Murphy, as he gets the green in as well. Lovely little shot on the cue ball as well. So the only little thing that he has to be sort of mindful about is going to be the pink and blue being very close to each other, and Mark Williams clearly being on top of his game, trying to eliminate the pink straight away there to make sure at least the blue is going to be available. Don't think the pink is going to be just quite yet. because of the reds very much being busy alongside his spot there. But 5 colours out of the 6 will certainly be good enough there for Mark Williams, as he gets himself another red to roll in towards the left middle. Once again lines up a shot of the blue into the opposite corner, and still will have to go into the bunch of reds a couple of times, but not quite yet there. See, he's got a couple more of those that are already in open play. So far landing a bit awkwardly on this shot right here, and the cue ball's going to accelerate into the red with some power, playing the shot away from the cushion, so has to be mindful of the pot angle, and in the end he gets the red in. But as I say, the angle was going to force Williams to play this one with a lot of power, and therefore he lands himself very awkwardly on his black here and has to try and recover from that position. And oh boy, he does. I mean, brilliant shot there from Williams. Not only did he get himself onto a red, he also managed to get 2 more reds into the play. One of them going very close to the yellow pocket, and the other one is going to be used by Williams right here, right now, as he rolls it in towards the left corner to get himself 26 points clear. Up against still 0 from Murphy. That, you know, he only really got 2 shots in his frame so far, and he already could be on the receiving end of things, as has been the story throughout the majority of this final. So Williams this time around has to play a shot from the black with the screw back to get himself onto the red into the left middle. So once again accelerate the cue ball towards the sort of blue spot, and putting some power on the shot of the cue. He can try and get himself lined up with either left or right side of the blue, and also being on the top or the bottom side of it, simply for the 2 reds already being up against the bulk line. So I think he's going to try and go for those 2 first, until he's forcing himself to go for those reds underneath the pink there. And he's marching on towards another frame win here, Mark Williams. So there's still 99 points on the table there. And also 39 is the gap there for Williams right now. So it makes that 40 and gets himself onto the blue as well, in towards the right middle. So once again, only 1 red is currently fully on the cushion into the left-hand side of the table. All the other ones are potable. There's still 1 more red on the bulk line inside the D that is actually in open play, and Williams tried to develop some more of those, and if he's ended up on the red, he has to take this one in towards the yellow pocket there, unless he settles for a really difficult cut in towards the left corner here. I think it will be really tricky, and as I say, last thing he wants to do is try and give an invitation to Murphy of regaining his form, so had to play this one with a lot of power, but in the end it looks to be once again immaculate shot there from Williams, as you know, four cushions the cue ball had to travel, and he still landed perfectly on the blue, covering the entire length of the table there, and just rolling the blue in, getting himself lined up onto the red into the left corner. So nicely done there by Williams yet again here. So 51 points ahead right now. Needs a couple of more of those reds with expensive colours, and he'll be nicely away in towards the frame ball zone for the 8th time in this match already, in only sort of 8.5 frames played. Right now he's got himself into the black, in towards the left corner here. So played through the shot there with the cue ball having a nice low angle to go into the top part of those reds. So 59 points for Williams already. And Murphy has to once again spend the majority of the frame time sat in his chair, just watching, not necessarily enjoying, but certainly admiring, you would think, the performance from Williams' point of view, as he gets himself onto the black, which will put him 67 points clear, with 67 on the table, something that we've seen in the opening frame. And now an absolute carbon copy. 1 mistake from Murphy, of course this time it was a lot less significant than the opening frame one, and it's still the same outcome, because Williams is going to take this frame as he pots the frame ball. So now, right now, Shaun Murphy needs 2 snookers, but that skyrockets to 4 of those required, with him getting the black in as well, and still no chance of running himself out of position just yet. Of course, in the opening frame, it was a break of 73 points, and right now it's 75 points and counting, as he was trying to free up one of those reds that was currently sitting on towards the left-hand side cushion. This time around, he'll go for the yellow and try and pot it into its own pocket there and get in behind the red for either left corner or left middle there. In the end, I think he'll settle for a shot in the left corner and push through the cue ball yet again here and try and accelerate the white on towards the position from the black here. And really well done there once again there by Williams, and actually managing to produce a lot of traction there on the cue ball. So lands just about the wrong side of the blue here, which is going to give him a nice little angle as he goes for the red, the last remaining one on the bulk line area, and just has to judge the shot to perfection here, as of course he does. That's been the story of the entire match now, for Williams judging all of his positional shots to an absolute beauty and perfection there. Right now he's on 85 points, and in no time at all he makes it 90 here. So what about him trying to get this red possible into left middle? And what a shot this is once again there. It is Williams' show, and I mean, talking about pressure being the factor there, he's certainly not going to be the factor on Mark Williams' point of view. He's off to the brilliant start once again now against Shaun Murphy, and there's nothing that the man from England can do about that. You know, you can't be a magician if they don't let you show your tricks there, because right now it's all the tricks coming from Mark Williams. Can't quite make the highest break of the match here, but he can certainly make the second century. You know, he left off on the century of 127 points, and right now he's, if he makes the total clearance from here, which is looking very likely right now, it will be a break of 122 points, but for now it is a century break number 2 in his back-to-back centuries there for Mark Williams, certainly marching on towards the title here at the Xi'An Grand Prix. Last year, of course, it was Karen Wilson that won it, and this time around it could be Mark Williams being only 2 frames away from doing that. Shaun Murphy is still absolutely, you know, miles behind him, with having only 1 frame on the board, that frame number 5, which for once Murphy was actually quite clinical with his performance. But in the end, all the rest of them were won by Mark Williams, and right now he gets the second session underway with brilliant style and a break of 122 points to 0. Shaun Murphy, it is going to be a lead of Mark Williams by 8 frames to 1 going into frame number 10. Still no real guarantee that we're going to get ourselves further than just 11 frames that, you know, Shaun Murphy guaranteed himself to witness with winning that single frame up to these points in frame number 5 there, straight after the intermission. And he might not get to the intermission in the second session, because right now it is looking like a perfect performance from Mark Williams here up against Shaun Murphy. And I mean, once again, if you take a little assessment of what he's managed to do in the opening frame, it was flawless performance, but it was nothing that Shaun Murphy could do. You know, he plays a break-off shot, which is actually nice. You know, the Williams goes for a transition of the cue ball to the top part of the table. Murphy sends the cue ball into the pack there, but underruns slightly for the cue ball not to be perfectly onto the black ball cushion. But still, I mean, from that position, you wouldn't expect Williams to get a significant break there, let alone a clearance of 122 points. But that's what the Welshman can do to you, and you know, he's proving that once again here, getting himself a very healthy lead of 8 frames to 1. Still, this match could be over very, very quickly, you know. We thought that Anthony McGill against Shaun Murphy was a pretty quick match in terms of its duration there, and he was the only one since Ali Carter and Karen Wilson that we didn't actually see a decider in. I mean, something miraculous has to happen for us to see even a 10-7 win now for Williams. I mean, yeah, it is all about when is Mark Williams actually going to take, you know, full control of this final and get it over and done with. And does Shaun Murphy have anything to say about it? Well, he's yet to get his first chance in the second session and hoping for himself that that will be the case in frame number 10. And so the good news for him is he should get a shot there after a break-off there by Mark Williams, but that's probably all the good news that he's going to get right now, with the Welshman being certainly the man on form. And clearly, I mean, he was talking about him playing horribly throughout the entire tournament, and he clearly saved the best till last there, as he's got now a break-off shot for a potential 9-1 win. If he gets himself another frame on the board, we'll put him only one frame away there of claiming the title. And Shaun Murphy is still 9 frames away from that goal. That doesn't seem to be getting any closer there for him. And so right now Williams leaves him away a red in towards the left corner. But you have to feel, he has to really start taking those chances, even if they're not really there then, because that's going to be his only option of taking the challenge towards Mark Williams. Once again, Williams just sending the cue ball in towards the bunch of reds there and getting the white accelerated away from the main pack. So the cue ball is going to be positioned nicely there by Williams, and Murphy can try and send this red in towards the right hand side of the table, put it onto the cushion, and maybe canning it off the black ball cushion and into the main pack as well. That's going to be an option for him. Of course, this second shot will equal the shot tally that he's had in the previous frame. So has to be particularly careful with this one. As I say, he just puts the red on towards the right hand side cushion and cannons it back into the main bunch. So a lovely shot there for him. Don't think he's left any invitation there from Williams. Think maybe one of those reds is actually going to be possible, as Williams having a look to see if the plant is there. So clearly the red that he's actually going to play and try and do and put into the right corner pocket can free up the plant there for Murphy. So instead he goes for a different side of approach and just focuses completely on his cue ball position. And a nice shot there for him. So just catches the yellow, a bit full ball there, so the cue ball will stay on what would have been the yellow spot a couple of shots ago. And once again here, Murphy has got another chance to develop the reds even further. Right now, they're still looking quite bunched up here. Just voted Murphy to win the title. Can't think of anyone coming back from this far down in the first 210. You know what? Well, I did say, you know, if you say, if that makes you feel bad, Andrew, I will say that until this final has started, I absolutely was confident that Murphy is going to win this one. I did say 10-7 in Murphy's favour, but I mean, really, I was thinking way more confident than that. I was thinking 10-5, maybe 10-4 there, but I mean, if you think that's bad, you know, think about me saying it was going to be 10-7 up until this final had started. Well, he's still not over just yet, because Williams just makes an error here, puts the red over the right corner pocket. So if Murphy can get through to this red, and he can, it's all going to be about trying to get the next position on the colour. The blue is there for him, and probably his options end on that, onto the lower part of the table. And a nice little attempt there to get himself on for the blue, and he's actually going to be alright here. I mean, me too, 10-7, 10-6 Murphy before the start. Yeah, well, as I say, at least we're in this together. You know, being delusional and being in one club of delusional people is actually a bonus. As Murphy seems to be distracted by someone, as the referee has got a hand in the air. And has happened to him against Gary Wilson yesterday a couple of times. But, of course, will have to happen a lot to Mark Williams today if he is to lose out on the gap of 8 frames to 1. So, right now, Murphy just gets the blue in towards the left middle and gets himself on towards the red into the left corner. So, a nice shot there from his point of view, getting himself into a nice, comfortable situation on this red. But for him to be comfortable on the colour shot, he has to work a lot harder. And yeah, he runs himself out of position, but I dare say even Williams wouldn't get further than that, really, because it was even though he got himself into a comfortable shot on the red, he always had the angle to send the cue ball into the reds there. And even though he can see the black, it's makes it pretty much unplayable here, and he's just having a look to see where he's going to send the cue ball onto the top part of the table. So it was one of those, you know, the red was there for him to try and take, and any points that you get from that break is going to be a bonus. So Murphy managing 7 points might not be the end of all time, but ultimately it gives him a chance, of course, to develop and put the black into available area for any one of the players that is going to get the next chance in the frame here to have it as available option to them. But of course, should it be potted, I mean, he's still going to try, well, return back to his spot there and yeah, be covered up by the reds at that time, unless there's going to be significant changes to them made to the position up until that point. And Williams doing a little trademark shot of his, you know, something that he has been doing against Daniel Wells a couple of times yesterday, catching the cushion first and then catching the edge of the red there, of course unintentionally, but it has been working out for him nicely. The thing with other sport, it's not like any sport every frame is like a match, 8-1 down in football, and most sport times against you. I agree with that, but I also think from Snooker's perspective, if he was first on 9, and of course it's not, but if he was first on 9, as Murphy goes for a wonderful shot there, I mean, I don't see any hand of apology there for him, so he clearly meant that. And if he's on the colour here, he could be running away with it once again now. He's on the brown in towards the left middle. And nicely taken away there. So Murphy gets himself another chance. Tennis, you have the serve darts. You throw first. Snooker big comebacks are possible. It is. But the thing that I was going to say is that Mark Williams will have 8 chances to get himself 2 frames there. And you're telling me that in one of those chances he's not going to have a perfect situation. I get that it will work against someone like sort of Wilson, maybe even Trump, maybe someone like Brussels. We've seen it with Xi'An in the World Championship. Mark Selby to an extent there as well, because they're not really going to be players of form, but Williams can just produce that performance in a single frame, and that's all he's going to need now. You know, Momentum More is there. Yes, have a look at this. Have a look at this. The guy's in the chat there. I think I actually know who it is. Yet to wait a confirmation on that. And lovely shot there from Murphy. Once again gets himself into the left middle. And a nice little shot off the blue there. So gets himself screwed back there on towards left corner. And as I can see the Discord message popping up there, I'm pretty much confirmed. Something that I was thinking about previously. And right now it's Murphy to go for a red in towards the left corner now. So I think his options are going to be limited here. What was the Brussels score when he came back? And yes, you're right, Williams will take his chances. He's no rookie that's going to fold. I think it was 7-14. May have been 5-14 actually. Tomorrow I'm going to block you. And I'm joking, of course. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But right now, it's from Murphy's point of view. What he has to do is try to get himself as many points on the board as possible. And, you know, he's already 30 points clear now of Williams. And if he gets himself even further than that, you know, he's take it on a frame-by-frame basis. That's the most that he can do. And he nearly missed the red there in towards the right corner. Nice shot there for him. And it's all about Murphy in this frame, but it hasn't been the case in the previous 9 frames. So what he has to do is try and get himself further than that zone of 55 points that he managed to produce and still lose the frame. The break of 69 points previously has actually got him the win in the frame number 5. So has to get somewhere around it. And right now, got himself perfectly once again. This is great, thank you. I mean, it is fun, and Farley, you're going to have to go, unfortunately. He was one there in the chat. And Murphy, I mean, he's playing with fire there, trying to take a shot like that on. Because all of a sudden, he's got himself into a little bit of trouble on this pink. And I say a little bit. Yeah, I don't really like his body language from here. He may have to refuse the pot at all here. And, you know, 83 points on the table. Compromised massively by the fact that, you know, Murphy had to use a lot of the cheap bowl colours. It's exciting. I mean, it would have been a bit more exciting had sort of Williams slow down a bit more in their first session, but of course he can't ask that on the professional level, and if anything, it should have been Murphy playing better in his point of view. And so right now he has to sacrifice the break and just get the cue ball on towards the bulk line. Gets himself a 35 points cushion, and Williams can try and perform from this stage on. Right now, if he just plays the red in towards the black there, I think you can try and go for the pot there potentially. And nice shot once again there from Williams. And it's a decent shot there from Williams, but I think the cue ball position should have been better if he actually tried to get himself in a safe situation, because even though it was a decent shot of developing the reds there, which was important, one of those reds is going to be visible here to Murphy to try and take it away towards the left corner, and he is going to do that. So nice little shot there once again by him. 36 points. And Murphy seems to be running away with it once again now, so it would be a decent response to the start of Mark Williams into the second session. But until he gets himself a couple of frames on the board, there's no comeback story to talk about. But of course, I think it's going to be a massive difference of him being trailing by 9 frames to 1 or 2, and 8 frames to 1 and 2, because when you're 9-1 ahead and you're 9-2 ahead, you only need 1 more frame. And Murphy just has to delay that chance for Williams as long as possible, really. Did Murphy miss any more good chances late in the first session? Was on early, you said missed good chances early on. You have chances in the other. Not really. Not really. And this is why you had to take those chances in the first mini session, because in the second one, Williams was brutal. Like, he genuinely was. He had 1 chance in the 5th frame, which he managed to convert as a frame win. But apart from that, I think it was Williams running away with it. There was frame number 6 was a bit scrappy, and it was anyone for the taking. I think Murphy could have been a bit more patient there, because he basically took a red in towards the green pocket and gave away a chance there to Williams to have a break of like 30 points in a very close position, which is something that you can't really afford to do, because it was like 45 points or something on the table, and Williams already had a gap of like 30 points or so. So, you know, it was a silly shot there from Murphy, but you can understand why he was playing. He was trying to do something about it, because him being passive at the start of the session didn't actually get him anywhere. But right now he's on a break of 56 points and getting himself nicely. It's always possible to come back, but the thing is, Williams has to fluke the remaining frames somehow for that to happen. Absolutely. I mean, he needs to basically try and... Thanks for the update. You, Luke, favour Williams in the scrappy frames. Well, you know what? I will say he was getting a bit of a look there up against Murphy, because every single time Murphy would miss his shot, as he gets himself a frame ball now. So it is going to be a scoreline of 8 frames to 2. And he seemed to always leave Murphy with absolutely nothing to play. And whenever Murphy would miss his shot, Williams would always have at least a couple of shots for him to try and choose from and play. In the end, it's going to be the end of a break there on 29 points for Murphy. You would favour... Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Unfortunately, right now, and as Murphy gets himself the second frame on the board, don't think he's going to be too upset about that. As, you know, you have to try and build the momentum there and win, you know, 4 frames for every single frame that Williams wins. Murphy has to win 4 or something like that if he wants to challenge and make it a respective scoreline for now. That's going to be his target. And the more momentum and the more pressure you try and put onto Mark Williams, the more chance you actually present yourself to becoming closer to winning this title. What I'm saying is, snooker is a sport where even if you suddenly play brilliantly for the remainder of the match, you still need an opponent to give you the opportunity to do so. Absolutely. So great points there by Andrew and Fallon, but basically they're a little bit contradicting each other. But basically what they're both of them saying is, in snooker you can still win 8 frames in a row, because it's possible, because every frame is a new frame, and you always come with it with a bit of momentum and form. But whatever happens on the table at that time, you can't never dictate. But what Fallon is saying is actually a really nice point as well, because you need the opportunity to be given by your opponent. But when you have 8 chances like Williams has, when he's like 6 frames clear or something, he is going to have a chance in at least one of those frames, is what I'm saying. Like, Murphy can't play, even if you put prime Stephen Hendry against a decent playing Mark Williams, he will still give him chances away, because he can't literally be perfecting snooker, because it would be just too boring to watch for you. And that's why we love it as fans, because it's unpredictable, but also everyone gets at least a chance in a couple of frames time, and that's what Williams will be counting on, and that's why it was so important for him to have that lead of that significance going into the frame number 11 now. Eight, 5 and 10, so it might make Williams think a bit. Long shot, I know. So 8-4 will be at the interval. 8 would be 8-4, sorry, yeah. Listen, 8-4 is better than 10-1, is all I'm saying, because Murphy's going to win. If it's going to be 8-4, then Murphy's going to win this session, mini session, sorry, by 3 frames to 1 and win 3 on the row. It's better than just losing it 10 frames to 1 there, so has to take it with 1 frame each there. Murphy against Wilson. Repeat, Wilson had no chances. I know, that's very rare. Kyle knockout. Yes, yeah, I know. And his only actual point was from the last shot of Murphy. But what I'm saying is, A, it's the final, and B, it's Kyle Wilson and it's Mark Williams. I think they're both very different players, and this is what I'm saying to you, by the way. Murphy has got a break-off shot, and he's played this one horribly, and he's given a red away into the right middle. So all I'm saying, that's all it takes for Williams to have a chance of a 9-2 gap. I'm not saying that he will do it, but he managed to take the red there, and the cue ball is going to be pacey though, as he's going to pass the ball colours, and unless he's got one lined up in towards the middle. Well, he's got the brown, to be fair, and Murphy will be killing himself in his chair. Unlike something like golf, where it's totally up to you. Well, I will leave that one up to you. And I think I get the concept, and I think I would agree with you. And right here, right now, Williams has got an attempt of trying to roll this brown in towards the left middle. Put some pace on the shot now and get the cue ball to a lower part of the table. And has he overrun the cue ball slightly? Because unless he's got a plant there, I think he's run himself out of position. And yeah, talking about Karen Wilson match, is Murphy has said it's the best match that he's ever played of best of 9 format. And you know, it's difficult for him to sort of ask that out of himself again now. But Williams is showing signs of, you know, not being quite as perfect as he was previously. So misses the red, that was a plan there. And remember, that was the way that Murphy managed to win the 5th frame. Williams taking a dodgy plant in towards the left corner, missed that one. And Murphy's gone on to produce a break of 69 points. After Williams' 8 points over red and a black there. So he's got now a difficult red in towards the middle. That Murphy has to be taking those chances. And he does take this chance. So a couple of reds for him to try and work with. But straight away, Cubal's going to land exactly in between all of those. So I think he's going to be the green though. He's got a nice little buffer for the red to be taken in towards the left corner. And he's got a couple of reds to deal with, as I say. But very shortly, he'll have to send the cue ball into the main pack of reds anyway. And he's gone for the brown here. So clearly aiming the cue ball to go for red in towards the right corner. I mean, it's the right shot for him to play. But it would have been a lot more difficult to actually try and execute here. He's got a little bit of distance now in between the cue and the red. This is missable. But he manages to make it clinical so far. 6 point score there by Murphy. And every single chance that Williams misses, Murphy has to make sure that he doesn't miss a chance that goes to him. And once again, decent shot there, but does a bit of damage to himself. Tries to put the red in towards the, tries to put the black, sorry, in towards the right corner and get some of those reds out of the way. In the end, he's going to have to play a difficult shot here, and I mean, he's very unlucky not to be on the blue or pink here, but he may still be alright for the green there, because if he is, this could be a frame-winning opportunity. What a shot he just played there. The reds have split up perfectly there for Murphy, and this time it is going to be Shaun Murphy very much trying to dominate this frame. It's the most he can do at this point. You know, guarantee himself a 10-3 scoreline. You take it into 10-5, 10-6, and all of a sudden, you just get yourself more and more chances. For now, has to focus on a scoreline of 8 frames to 3, and takes the green on nicely in towards the side pocket and lines himself up perfectly right now for the couple of shots into the left corner pocket. And well, this is why I'm not complaining too much, but I think it would have been perfect story if Murphy managed to win 3 of the opening 3 frames, because it would have been a scoreline of 7 frames to 4 there. But Williams, very importantly for him by the way, managing to take that opening frame straight away there, and getting himself into a very comfortable gap of 8 frames to 1 now, of course reduced in half by Murphy. And right now once again there, so 26 points on Murphy's count. And there's so many reds to choose from. I mean, the problem is, the slightest is going to be the fact that the pink and blue are going to be in the way of each other. But Murphy can just try and make his way through those reds. I mean, I don't know why he was actually trying to go for the contact on the reds, because he could have run himself out of position, but I think he's going to be alright here. For the shot of the red in towards the right middle, and get himself lined up nicely on for the black here. Well, I mean, he's gone for the more difficult shot there, clearly going absolutely all in here, and so far working out perfectly there for Murphy, getting himself in and around the black once again here. So 41 points, and remember, this is the 3rd frame that we could finish very shortly in less than 40 minutes time now. So far, after an early safety battle in the opening frame, it has been very, very dynamic transition there from that on towards the frame number 3, and Murphy trying to apply some of this pressure on Mark Williams, and it'll take him a long time to actually start to apply some of this pressure onto Mark Williams naturally there with the scoreline. But it's better for him, of course, in terms of the performance. Break of 49, so it's going to be his 3rd 50-plus break of the match here. If he makes this one, he had to make a century break, of course. And nice little shot there by Murphy to get himself on towards the green. He can go for the brown if he wants to, but I think the green is going to have the more natural angle to bring the cue ball down the table. For one more red in towards the right middle there. So getting himself in amongst those reds, and to be fair to him, he's done all the hard work really early on there. You know, the reds were split up absolutely perfectly from his positional shot on the black. And all he had to do after it is make another red count there for him. And so far, it has been a perfect break from Shaun Murphy. So just about to finish this one off in terms of winning the frame. 49 points clear, 67 on the table. So I think 3 more shots needed there for Murphy. And he's going to be nicely away. Something's distracted him on his way. Little fly there on the table. And nicely taken away there. I'm talking about the red, not the fly. So 56 points he's clear right now. So it's going to be 59 on the table if this red disappears, which is going to line him up for a frame ball there, once again on the black. So it's a decent response there from Murphy. If this black is going to disappear, you have one more red that is going to be easy to put in towards the right middle. And of course, equals his highest break of the match of 69 points made in frame number 5. And makes this one in frame 11. Mark Williams has to send the majority of this frame, sat in his chair once again there. And Murphy finally having some sort of domination on the table. And his shot time is going to reduce, and his break building skills certainly going to be not too rusty going into the next frame. Right now he gets the black in towards the left corner, gets himself lined up on the red that I mentioned, in towards the right middle. So in terms of the century break being possible, you got one red that is going to be in a tricky position. You've got the blue and the pink very much close to each other. But apart from that, it's looking actually very, very nicely there for Murphy. So 78 points over break, so 85 is going to be with his black here. And he's got himself lined up in towards the red for the left middle here. Nicely taken away. So all about the red, that he can try and roll in towards the yellow pocket there. And it's going to be entirely up to him in terms of what he wants to do. But right now, it is going to be a shot availability. But yeah, he's got way too close to the red there. I think it's going to be a very difficult shot for him to try and take with this angle, unless he can squeeze the red past the brown and the yellow cap. But had to play that one with power. So not quite a century break there. And it's going to be a break of 93 points to get Murphy. Still in this equation. And right now wins 2 frames on the bounce there. For the first time, of course, in this encounter against Williams. It is still Mark Williams with a very healthy lead of 8 frames to 3 there. Told you yesterday Williams would win. Today just had a feeling, because when they play brilliantly to get to the final, the form usually drops, saying that it's not over yet. Well, I think you did, because I remember MMA philosophy. I remember certainly saying that. Someone certainly did say that to me yesterday, but I don't really believe that until I actually see it, because I know that it does happen, and I've seen it happen before, but I just don't get how it actually works, because it's not like, you know, Murphy dropped off massively. It was just Williams finding an absolute best of his form. I suppose it makes sense on one point of view, but on the other, it's a brilliant thing to watch there, especially such a transition there, watching Williams up against Daniel Wells struggling for the majority of the match, getting some of the form late on there. And all of a sudden he turns up against Murphy and he's got him 8-1 down there. It's not quite over yet, but for me to keep saying that, Murphy needs to keep winning those frames. And not losing any is most important part. You know, as long as he doesn't lose any, he can't lose the final. But of course, that's a negative mindset to go into the final of the second session now. But now, as I say, has to focus on just making a respectful scoreline from his point of view. And then the rest will hopefully follow up there for him. So if Murphy can get in 2 more frames before the break, then another 2 more frames after, while hoping Williams take a few shots along the way, then we have a game on. Not totally impossible. Well, yeah, but you're asking him to win 6 frames in a row. You take 2 frames that he just won. I get that he's 33% there technically, but we've got 1 more frame until the intermission, by the way. So I think you mean it's going to be 2 there for him. Yeah, that's true. I guess Williams just also has the tactical advantage. He's so experienced, whereas Ronnie would have just been all out of the second, probably look. It's exactly what he did against Gary Wilson. That's exactly what he did against Gary Wilson. Murphy has just, Ronnie has just said, you know what, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out on my own terms. And he did go out. Like, it's nice when he wins it, but there's no guarantee that this attacking display is always going to win in matches, because it's not the Ronnie O'Sullivan of 2022. I'm sorry, but you can say he's playing well, you can say he's queuing well, but he's not queuing to the extent that he can win matches, you know, without turning up, without a queue there. You can't do that anymore, and he has to admit that the snooker has changed slightly, and you can lose to anyone. Williams is amazing. He admitted himself he's been garbage, but to get to the final with your C games, there's all you need to know about the class of Williams. And you absolutely, I remember watching that interview from WST yesterday, and he basically was saying, I'll take that all day long over playing really well and not getting anywhere, because he said the only real quality match that I've played was against Barry. And it was a quality match, by the way, if you haven't seen that one. It was an absolute beauty to watch. And he says all the other ones, I've just fluked them, but I absolutely will take this one, and hopefully. And the statement that he did say, if I am to win against Gary or Shaun tomorrow, I have to step up my game and have to play a lot better. I mean, tell me that's not a perfect reaction to that. I mean, he said it and he's done it. Whatever you say about him now, and even if he goes on to lose this match by 10 frames to 8 there, I mean, it'll be an ultimate comeback from Murphy, but you can still be very, very proud of yourself. Not today, of course. He'll be absolutely fuming with himself. But in terms of when you look back at those opening 9 frames, it's going to be an absolute performance for the ages there so far from Williams. And as I say, Murphy's only won 2 frames. There's no real guarantee that Williams is not going to respond with himself winning 2 of those frames and just getting himself a 10th free win there. I understand how Trump is still the favourite for all the Triple Crown titles. His form has disappeared. Yeah, but I think the reason about it is as Williams plays pretty much a really good safety shot. He could have been even better. I think he will found his way on towards the yellow. But I think it's... Listen, he is the world number 1. He is the current winner of, I think, UK Championship. I know Shaun won the Masters and obviously Zhao won the World Championship there. But I think Trump has won the UK Championship last year up against Wilson. And if you talk about the World Championship, I still have Trump in the mix there. Probably second favourite after Zhao Xington for the simple brilliance that he's put out last year. But who are you going to have on top of him is the question. Like, anyone can win the Triple Crown event, especially with the way this season has gone. We're still yet to have sort of a person that has won 2 titles now. And, you know, look at the names. Kyron Wilson, yes, it was logical. Neil Robertson could say yes. And then you've got the likes of Xiao Godun. You've got Mark Allen. You've got Shaun Murphy. And for the first time, by the way, in this season, we've got a person that has managed to make it into 2 finals with Shaun Murphy. But I mean, let's be fair, it's not looking likely for him to win the second event here. Agree with my mate, they love sticking Trump and Xington top in the betting. I could not back either at the start of round 7-2. Ronnie third favourite for the bet. He enters this crazy. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's true. But that's the point that I'm going to make there. Who are you going to say is going to be the favourite ahead of those 2? Because they simply go with a stack there. But it's not like you can sort of predict that, because tell me one of the outcome that you would have predicted. You know, Shanghai Masters, you would have had Wilson or Trump fair play. I don't think anyone would have had Robertson going into the Saudi Arabia Masters, as Williams there plays a safety shot. And what was next? Wuhan Open, Xiao Godun once again. I mean, to win 2 ranking events back to back there in the same city, in the same tournament, I mean, that was miraculous. Mark Allen, I'm not going to even mention about English Open. That was the comeback of all comebacks. He could have been eliminated in the second round or something. And he managed to make it into a decider of a final, as Murphy gets pretty lucky with that double kiss. And gets the cue ball very safe there in towards the ball line. I also feel like the odds are always harsh on Williams. Yeah, I will agree on that. Williams and Higgins, I think both of them are very much underestimated by the odds. When you have a look who's going to be the... Well, I mean, I've been the victim of that as well. As I say, I've been saying that Murphy's going to be a massive favourite for this final. But I've been basing that on the form of Williams, not so much that he's the higher ranking seed. Like a bit of value, Kyron Wilson would be a better bet. It's very tough to pick a winner of a tournament, which is great for the bookies to take him. Well, yeah, that's the thing about it. Because the unknown is going to benefit them. Williams Higgins about 16-1 start of the... Wow, that's crazy, that is. I mean, the world number 5 and 6 and potentially 4 and 6 now. If Williams does manage to take 2 more frames and make himself the winner, he'll be the world number 4 and move out ahead of Ronnie there. So there's going to be a class of 92. The world number 4, 5 and 6. But this time it's going to be Mark Williams in charge of that train. They always have Williams down near Hawkins and Bingham. Yeah, you can't compare those 3 though. Especially now. I mean, I can understand if you're talking about sort of 2013, 2014, 2015 era. The era that I started watching snooker in, when Bingham and Hawkins were there and thereabout. You know, Hawkins was challenging O'Sullivan for the World Championship final. Bingham was becoming the World Champion himself. And... Williams was there or thereabout, I suppose, himself, but I think those times have gone for Hawkins and Bingham right now. But Williams has made into the semi-final of Wuhan Open previously in the season. He's also managed to get himself to the high stage, I think it was, of English Open. I think he managed to get himself into a quarter-final. And on top of that, he was playing some good stuff there as well. You know, most importantly, he lost out in Wuhan Open to the eventual winner there, Xiao Godun. So there's no shame in that one. And for now, Williams got himself into a little bit of trouble with that shot from Murphy. You know, landing the cue ball right underneath the yellow, puts him under a little bit of scrutiny. And by the way, we have guaranteed ourselves to have at least one intermission of 15 minutes break now. With even if Williams take this frame, it is going to be at least a 15 minutes wait until he can go or one more hunt of a frame and get himself a title on the line. So he goes for the 2-cushion escape now, Williams. So sending the cue ball in towards the right part of the table. And getting that one into the reds. Has to be very careful with his contact though. And I mean, you'll be very unlucky if you miss that red. I think you just about clipped here. And yeah, not going to be a foul point to Shaun Murphy. And well, Murphy has got, once again, he's in charge of the position. And just sending the cue ball onto the top part of the table. It does seem like a logical thing for Murphy to try and do. Get himself lined up on the next shot with the advantage in hand. As he just has a look to see what is available towards the right corner there for him. And so once again, I'm yet to find out the explanation why this was put on a Monday as the final. You know, I purposefully checked yesterday that, you know, in 2024 it was normal standing format. It was Sunday, the morning and the afternoon session that they were playing this in. I don't know whose idea it was to put the final of a ranking event on the Monday, which is going to be the working day, no matter which part of the world you are in. And Williams here, he's getting a little bit of more of a chance, I think, from Murphy than he could have. As I say, Murphy was in charge of that position, but he could have done better in terms of the cue ball control. And Williams, I mean, I say could have done better, but has he got away with this mistake once again there? I don't think Murphy's got anything available. He's tried to go for a red in towards the left corner, but he missed it. And I don't want to focus on Williams' face too much. I want to see what the table's looking like. And the cameraman doesn't agree with me on that one. Crazy for the viewing figures. It's me to listen to you. No, I'm just saying, I'm not complaining to myself, but I just think it's a weird selection for them. Because it's not like it's going to be different in China or the broadcasting thing. But must be a reason for it. And if we have a look for the position that Murphy's got ahead of himself, I think he's got a plant in towards the left corner, but I'm yet to see if that one is actually going into the corner. And Murphy not even having a close look at that. Probably not. But I think he's going to try and go for the red in towards the yellow pocket now. And he makes this one. That was a really difficult shot, and it was one of the hardest that Shaun Murphy managed to pot the entire day today, barring the sort of afternoon and the morning session. Right now, it's Murphy once again being on the chart here, so gets himself a point on the board. A little bit of a struggle that he's got the cue ball on the wrong side of the blue, so he's got the line send it onto the bulk line area, but there's no reds out there. So has to play this one with either too little power or too much power. Get himself lined up for a shot in towards the left corner. So he decided to try and generate as little power as he could. Get himself lined up for a shot in towards the right corner. And a little bit of a... But on Murphy, when the score is 1-7. And I've seen the odds work quite spectacular there for that. And, you know, I've seen the same thing about Joey Long against Mark Allen. But, you know, Joey Long wasn't missing reds like that there. Murphy had to do better. And in the end, it's only going to be 6 points that he got on this break. And Williams will come back to the table to a lovely little red waiting there for him into the left corner. Once again, so if you have a look at this Williams position, he still has got a little bit of a problem in terms of getting for the colours, especially at the start of this break. Has to get the cue ball past this line of the reds and get himself lined up either for the pink or the black there. Not going to be the case. He caught the red way too much in the face there and going to get himself lined up with a difficult shot there of if he wants to take the blue on. I don't think he will. I think it's going to be just a safety being played, and with not too much time for him to actually consider the shot, he just sends the cue ball onto the top part of the table, and it's going to be the break ending there on just a single point scored from Williams, and Murphy is going to try and respond with a decent break of his own, as he's now getting... He's only got himself 5 points ahead now of Williams currently, but ultimately it's still anyone's frame for the taking here, as the position is far from ideal, and realistically you need a perfect chance there to make it work for you, because the thing number one for you to actually try and do is going to be try and restore the black back into its original position and get it lined up for a more straightforward of a break, getting the cue ball in and around the black spot. And Murphy, I don't know what on earth he was doing. That is one of the silliest shots I've ever seen in my life. He's tried to take on a red along the cushion with no real chance of getting himself on the cut. I mean, if he was playing a safety shot, I'd like to hear the explanation for that. But I just think I have absolutely no idea what the thought behind that shot was. I mean, if it was that bad for him to try and find a safety shot, I mean, I've got absolutely no idea, no explanation for that. But Williams ain't going to be too much better because, you know, out of the gift that Murphy presented to him, he only got himself 8 points on the break. And this time, as he cannons the cue ball in towards the reds there, he gets himself compromised and probably has to settle for a shot in towards the right middle. The good news about it is he probably is the risk-free shot, and the only red that he can actually give away there to Murphy is going to be the one that he's currently playing. But the bad news is it's still a difficult shot for him to try and take on after a position was looking like it was going to be a quite easy one. But he manages to recover though. So it's amazing though, the class of 92 are still delivering top-notch snooker and slugging it out with the rest of the top 16 week in, week out. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope that will continue, because I think we're going to lose a massive part of snooker. We're going to have Mark Williams, John Higgins or Ronnie O'Sullivan, any of them retire. I'm not even talking about losing all three of them. You know, you need a lot of people like Xiao to come onto the stage here for them to actually be replaced here. And I don't think there's anyone going to be just turn up and be just as good as those three are, and what they provide on the table, but also, you know, just how enjoyable it is to watch them off the table. The interviews that they do, the things that they do for snooker behind the scenes. Once again, Williams just has a look to see if there's going to be any reds that he can try and nudge the cue ball into and get himself lined up in towards the right corner, the same corner that he's trying to play the black into. And as the answer seems to be no there, he just has to settle for playing the cue ball and studying that one just above the black to settle for a risky red in towards the left corner. There's going to be some distance for that red to cover, and has to play this one really well there, and gets that nicely. So a break of 24 points and counting now for Williams. And because we had a couple of missed reds earlier, and it's only 99 points on the table. So Williams is not too far out actually from getting close to that frame ball zone, as he gets another black into its original position. And still no signs of any kind of concern there from Williams, even though he is getting ever closer to being within touching distance of the Xi'An Grand Prix title. 27 points clear right now, with 91 on the table. The black is going to go in towards the right corner there. So the four reds underneath the pink are pretty much located alongside each other. So you have to get the cue ball in below the pink to try and get the one closest to the right hand side cushion. And perfect shot once again there from Williams. I mean, perfect cue ball placement. And the angle that he's got himself is probably going to get him a nice little cannon as well into the reds. Get himself lined up for the black in towards the left corner. For Murphy to win 7-1 behind is very stingy. I think he should have been like 32. Yeah, I didn't want to say that because I thought I may not know my stuff, but I was seeing 104 there for Williams, and I thought there's no way that adds up to 9.1 there for Murphy, because surely it has to be like 12-1. Because I'm just thinking 7 frames to 1 there. He's got 3 frames that he has to win. I mean, that would have been very, very bad odds from my point of view. And they may be looking a lot worse right now. We'll have a look after this frame, what they're going to be looking like here, if they're going to be odds now. If Williams has got himself in now 3 frame gap there, I think this could be over very, very quickly there. So once again, 48 points is the advantage for Williams as he gets himself onto the top part of the table. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, absolutely. Like, for him to win 3 frames out of the remaining, 11 potentially, I mean, that should be very, very likely to happen, especially with the form that he was showing recently. And in the first opening set, you could say and argue if Murphy wins the 2 opening frames and he makes it a scoreline of 7 frames to 3 there, it's still probably not enough there, because 1 frame that Williams wins, then it's still 8-3 in his favour. This is why you had to be doing better in the opening session, and sometimes damage could be done earlier on there for you. Williams once again gets himself lined up in towards the red there, off into the left corner. And if he just pots the not pot the cue ball, I don't think that's going to be part of his plan. If he puts the cue ball through this red now, get himself lined up on the black there, which is going to be a frame ball there, because he's going to put him 60 points clear with only 59 on the table. But the angle is not going to be too favourable to him. So just roll this one in. And not worry too much about the position on the red, which is exactly what he's done there. So sacrificing the shot on the red, getting himself nice little cushion of 60 points now, with only 59 on the table. And now he can try and think about going for this red, which is still possible there for him. The cue ball is going to go into the black, which is not going to be bad news for him. But in the end, he decides to push the black on towards the cushion there and get the red towards the left-hand side cushion as well. And right now, 60 points clear and 60 points of an advantage now for Williams. And so still getting himself very, very close to that win number 9 there in terms of the frames count. And Murphy's having a quick look to see what the Reds' current position is. And of course, the way for Murphy to try and go is try and pot those 3 Reds with, 3 blacks really. And try and get himself lined up for a snooker on the last remaining one. So Williams could have actually gone for the red in towards the left corner, but deciding to settle for a safety there. Catches the jaw of the middle pocket in pretty much in his favour. I think Murphy once again can either go for a cross double or for a shot there in towards the left corner. And nice shot there for him, finding that gap to get the cue ball in behind the green. So he's got the snooker here potentially. But the problem for him is Williams has got 4 reds to try and aim at. But the good news for Murphy, of course, is at this stage it still matters for him to have Williams give him away. A nice little position there. Hello everyone again. Hello Get Pressure. Right now though, if he plays this red in towards the right side cushion, and yeah, it's a little bit of a hidden hope this, and it's going to be a chance now to Murphy. One of the reds has gone onto the top part of the table, and Murphy can afford to lose some of those points. I think he's going to be alright if he pots the pink twice there, until he gets the black into available area. And just has one more look at the score sheet, just to make sure he actually got his maths correctly. And the red to disappear in towards the right corner, and he's going to be playing for the pink for this time around. So gets himself the first point that is actually scored there with the pot, since the only chance that he's had of taking the brown and the red, which does seem to be a long way back now in terms of the way things have changed in Williams' favour, as he gets himself a 60 points of a gap there, with Murphy having 59 points on the board. Right now, it's going to be a shot that if he misses, he'll be frame conceded once again there. Has to take the black along the cushion, and it is going to be frame conceded because Shaun Murphy has missed that black, so it's not quite conceding yet there, but 52 points. So he's needing 3 snookers now, with Mark Williams having a red into the left corner as well there. So just playing through this one very carefully. And getting himself on the blue into the right middle as well. So Williams once again up in charge. And for the intermission break, he's got himself, better than he actually could have done. He managed to win 2 out of the opening 4 frames of the second session. Murphy was off to a quick start in the frames number 2 and 3 there. Got himself breaks off 75 and 93 in the end. But doesn't look like it's going to matter massively to Mark Williams, because he's certainly still very much on time to be the champion. And right now only needs 1 more frame to his count to make that turn into a reality there for him. 66 points advantage in between him and his opponent. As he gets the green already into the yellow pocket as well. The brown is going to follow the green into the same pocket there, and still on for a total clearance of sort of 39 points here. Something that I think is going to be second highest break for Mark Williams, making a century, of course, on his return of 122 points of a break of a century after, coming back from a 2-hour break and into the opening frame. And this time, he's not going to get the luck, though, on the ping, but it's not going to matter there for him, because it is going to be the 15 minutes intermission for both players to try and enjoy. And I think Mark Williams is going to enjoy that one a little bit more than Shaun Murphy, because he's still not up to the speed there. Not being too happy with the black yet again, something that we've seen Ronnie O'Sullivan and Gary Wilson mention out to the referee. But ultimately, I think Shaun Murphy is going to be struggling with all sorts of colours, as he does need this intermission to stay in this final, as he's currently trailing by 9 frames to 3 there to Mark Williams. How high is the prize money? 177,000 for the winner, 76,000 for the runner-up in British pounds there, Frank. So very much 120 already, I would say, for Mark Williams, as he only has a need of a single frame there out of the remaining 7 to make himself the champion of the Xi'An Grand Prix. But we're going to resume the broadcast after a short little intermission of 15 minutes time. Stay tuned in. Right then, everybody, and after maybe the final intermission break that we're gonna have in this final, it is now time for the showdown in between Shaun Murphy and Mark Williams. And so far, has been a better performance from Shaun Murphy, but it has to be a lot better than that, because he is now currently on the verge of finding himself on the losing end of things here against Mark Williams, as the Welsh potting machine is only a frame away of getting his own ranking event title since, can't be Champions of Champions there, but the Tour Championship was won in 2024 there by Williams. And let's see if he's going to add Xi'An Grand Prix to his collection of 28 ranking event titles. Once again there, Murphy can try and get the cue ball in towards the reds there and try to spread those out. So get the cue ball in towards the green pocket there. And put some distance in between the white and the remainder of the reds there. So he gets himself into a nice little position here, Murphy, because he sort of puts Williams under pressure of getting that red in towards the left corner, and therefore potentially freeing up the potential plat there for Shaun Murphy in towards the left corner. As in the meantime, Williams can try and go for this red though. It was ambitious, and it was risky approach there by Williams, but in the end, looks like he's going to be punished for this one. He made those shots previously in the encounter, but not quite this time around, and Murphy's in with a chance of taking the same red in towards the left corner. Ironically, Murphy can play somewhat relaxed from now on. It's Williams' match to lose. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree. I think it almost is going to be the approach when you go into 7-1 session number 2 there for you, but right now, of course, he's both of them managed to win 2 frames each, and Murphy can just take it into account that he's tried his best, but it just wasn't his day in the morning session, and in the end, damage was done to him there. But certainly don't stop believing in you, and just try and play your best there, and that's about as much as you can do. Still, don't take your eye off the pot there. Focus on every single shot that you play. And, just don't try and force your way through, and you feel like the red is available there for you. Just go for it, because it's not going to do you more damage than sort of you already done to yourself in the morning session. Right now, it's a decent shot there from Murphy to get the cue ball in towards the pack of reds. In the end, he'll free himself up of going for the one into the right middle. And instead he goes for the rest shot there in towards the right corner. A little bit of a difficult pot there he just tried to take for. And, I did say that right before he hit the shot, and he's missed that one now. So, there's one thing about being relaxed about giving away a chance there to Williams, but the other one is ignoring the shot in towards the right middle, which clearly would have been easier than the risky angle on the shot that he had there. So, a point now to Williams, and once again, it's the first chance that Williams has actually got into himself to close off the match. Once again there, so Williams getting himself 8 points on the board. So many reds available there to him after the split of Murphy that he's tried to free up the position for himself there, but in the end, it's going to be the perfect chance now for Williams to have an early go at closing away the positional sense, closing away the match, and not quite at the stage of saying it was a good performance from Shaun Murphy in the entire tournament. I wouldn't say it's been a horrible performance today there, but it's just been one of those chances and one of those times for him where his opposition is going to be playing sort of 5 times better than him, and especially those early 4 frames losses, where Murphy could have won at least 3 of those frames, and putting himself massively on the back foot there in the opening one. But since then, it has been a complete domination there from Williams. Very few errors came along the way. And once again, just Williams having so many reds to try and choose from, as he pots 3 reds, 3 blacks there. Seems to have just as many now available into the left corner alone there. And screwing the cue ball in towards the red there. So pushes that one towards the right middle. But ultimately forces himself to play a little bit of a tricky shot on the blue now. Nice little shot there once again. Mark Williams on the brink of becoming oldest ranking event winner. Well, I mean, it is certainly incredible what the class of 92 are performing. You know, you've got John Higgins and Mark Williams being 50 years of age there. Ronnie O'Sullivan is going to reach that age in December there. And, looks like he's about to produce one of his best final performances we've ever seen there from Williams. And it's not like he's done that against the player that would have been a massive underdog going into this final. In fact, the bookies have actually had Murphy as the favourite up until Mark Williams has turned up onto the scene. And probably the slowest thing about this break is going to have to be the referee trying to see if the pink is going to go back on his spot there. And if it ain't, with all 5 colours being on the spots there, it has to go underneath a red. And that's probably going to be the biggest problem there for Mark Williams. He's just being patient there and letting the referee perform the necessary action on the pink. And from now, he can try and get moving again. Having a red in towards the left corner. So straightforward shot that he can get the cue ball onto the top part of the black. And get himself set up with the shot in towards the right corner. That's going to have the black to try and play with the right approach here. So you can try and go underneath there, one of the reds in towards the left corner. Or you can try and do a similar sort of thing in towards the right corner. So he goes for the red in towards the right corner. And, well, I mean, from this stage, you have to say it will be a little bit of a waste there from Ronnie. From Mark. It may as well have been Ronnie, because what a performance. It has been flawless, and you can't say that Mark Williams was playing a really slow game, trying to wear Murphy down. He was doing exactly the opposite of that, and it has been a little bit of a rocket style there. There's been trying to do this performance, and in fact, there's only a couple of pots away of getting himself into the frame ball line. He's got a semi-difficult red, although, in towards the right middle to try and play. So get the cue ball screwed in behind for the black as well. In towards the right corner there. And get himself within touching distance of the frame ball, as I say, which is going to turn into match ball for Mark Williams. And it does look like he's only going to need 1 invitation and 1 chance. Although he's got to take another difficult red in towards the right middle. I think he could have himself a little bit less of a difficult task to do, but in the end, that's part of the procedure. And one of the difficulty that he has to face is getting over the line here. So these shots are going to test how calm he is under pressure. And he's going to miss the red, though, in towards the right corner. So Murphy is going to come back to the table. He was a bit hesitant with that. Almost like couldn't believe the fact that he's still alive in this match, and right now finds himself 46 points behind with 67 on the table. So not quite game and the match here for Mark Williams. He still has to work for it a little bit longer. And Murphy clearly throwing all caution out of the window, going for the red in towards the green pocket and leaving the same red away there for Williams in towards the left middle as well. Is it GG? Is the jinx too low? I don't think you have, because Murphy clearly understanding that he's got an absolute sort of distance of in between the Earth and the Moon to try and run in that 20 minutes time. So once again, going for the red that wasn't really there for him, and Williams will take that invitation all day long, getting himself lined up for the brown. And now the question has to be, has he got any of the reds in the open play that he can try and run the cue ball underneath the table? And I think the answer is he's going to go for the plant here. Something that, hasn't really done him a lot of favour in today's sort of encounter. Of course, that's the way he's lost out the 5th frame to Murphy. But this line seems to be very, very good there. And just about rattles the red in. And that, of course, was a match ball for Mark Williams. And it's a brilliant performance once again from the Welshman, as it is going to get his ranking event title for the first one since the Tour Championship of last year. And what a performance it has been for Mark Williams. And certainly deserved performance. And what a performance it has been from Shaun Murphy in the entire campaign here. Has to be appreciated as well. He had a really difficult campaign of coming through the players like Gary Wilson and Shaun Murphy in the progress up into this final. But in the end, it was just one legend too many for him to try and beat. And what a performance, as I say, from Mark Williams. It has been absolutely flawless up to this point. And what an incredible performance from Mark. Legend. Bob, absolutely. Congrats to Mark Williams. Well-deserved victory. Absolutely. And what a performance. And what a win there from Williams, because it couldn't just be the opening session. He managed to win the second session as well there, because even though Murphy managed to win 2 frames in a row there, technically still Williams with a lead of 3 frames to 2 there. The yellow is going to stay out, but ultimately he ain't going to matter, because Shaun Murphy will come forward to shake his hand there and congratulate Mark Williams. It certainly has been well played by him. And Mark Williams can be very proud of what he's done to this sport. And he's just made another serious contribution, not just to the Xi'An Grand Prix, but also to the entire WST Tour. And congratulations to Shaun Murphy on a brilliant campaign. He couldn't quite make it 2 tournaments in a row, but ultimately he fell down and he fell short to the better player today. Mark Williams has got the title of the Xi'An Grand Prix and becomes the second winner after Gary Wilson last year. Congratulations to him and his fans. And there's not really anything to do an overview on, but we'll still try and do that. And when Williams was coming into the second session with a scoreline of 7 frames to 1. Thank you for covering the event. Thank you for watching, everyone, one of you. Massive shout out to the audience. If you feel like subscribing and giving the video a like, feel free to do that. And we'll be back with more action in a week's time for the Northern Ireland Open. Not going to see the Ronnie O'Sullivan in there, but still going to see Mark Williams, Shaun Murphy, Judd Trump, Karen Wilson, John Higgins, Neil Robertson, and plenty more players trying to perform their best for the second Home Nations ranking event of this year's series. Thanks for the great commentary. We'll join you in your future one too. Forlon, thank you very much for your contribution. Lovely little discussion we've had with you previously. But let's end the overview on a high there. If you talk about the 7-1 scoreline that we go into the session with, you have Murphy pretty much needing to win every single one of those frames. And what a performance in the opening frame it has been from Mark Williams. Flawless and brilliant. He got on to make a clearance of 122 points in the end. Just one little mistake there from Murphy, leaving the red in towards the left corner there for Williams. And he didn't need a second invitation. And, the century break of 127 and 122 came into frames next to each other. Frames number 8 and 9 there for him. Murphy did manage to win frames number 10 and 11 to his name. But that was the maximum that he actually could produce. And in the end, it was just too many frames and too much of a challenge for him, really. At the end, it was the opening session that done all the damage in the world. And Mark Williams has gone on to win the frames number 12 and 13 in an incredible fashion as well. It wasn't like he was getting flukes all over the place. That was the case at some stages of the opening frames. In the, sort of second mini session at the opening, the morning session one. But ultimately, you can't say he won those 10 frames on the pure luck. And you have to congratulate him. Massive shout out to Shaun Murphy as well for making the final for the second time in 2 ranking events there. But ultimately, we've got the new winner of this tour. And now Mark Williams will join Karen Wilson, Neil Robertson, Joey Long, Xiao Geron there. And Shaun Murphy himself, of course, as the winner of the ranking event on the WST Tour. And when we have the Northern Ireland Open, we're going to find out if that tendency will continue, or we're finally going to have a player that is going to win a tournament back-to-back there, and for the second time. Williams played some great stuff, but great day. Mark showed up as always. He always does, and you never write Mark Williams off. That was a mistake that I made ahead of this sort of final, saying that Murphy's going to be the man to beat, but ultimately it wasn't his day. Thank you very much once again for everyone tuning in. It was an absolute pleasure to watch this final. A little bit of a shame that Murphy couldn't put up more of a fight, but he fell short to a better player today. Once again, thank you for your support, and feel free to tune in for some more action at the Northern Ireland as we go back to the Whole Nation series featuring some of the best players on the ranking tour. Until then, I have to say goodbye and see you soon. Up until that point, take care and stay tuned in for some more snooker.